Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for a really informative session. I hope all of you are doing really well. These are challenging times, and as members of a university community, maybe we are getting the hang of it, but we are still continuing to do very important work in supporting our students. That's what we are here for. And we ourselves need a lot of resources to be able to help them to be able to answer the questions. And one of those resources that we have in our campus is our library. It's really a valuable resource, and I'm very happy to introduce our speakers today. So we have Corinne Ebbs, Head of Education Resources Center. We have Sarah, Research and Instruction Librarian, and we have Oliver Jeff, Instruction Coordinator. So we're really grateful that they could join us and give us this valuable information that we will definitely be of help. So I would like to first invite Sarah to get us started, and then the floor is all yours. So, Sarah.
Thank you, Dresti. So yeah, I just wanted to start out with a brief overview of how we kind of envision a session going. We're going to be talking and discussing different resources that you might want to put into your classes, if it's a subscription, database source, book, article, some sort of content. And I'll be handing the floor over to Oliver for that. But before we get into that, I wanted to talk just about some research support that is available to you. And then we'll kind of end the session if anyone has any specific questions or things to wrap up, and also to kind of have a quick discussion on some new resources that we have added that have been made freely available through the publishers during the whole COVID-19 crisis, and that we made available through our collections and through our website. So I will be pointing some of those things out. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen.
Okay, I'm going to stop sharing.
Okay. Okay. So can you see my screen okay?
Yes.
With the Plato page should be pulled up here.
Yes.
So if you're a faculty member kind of starting out in your Plato page, I did want to point this out. You might already be familiar with it, but just as a reminder, in this software and resources section, there are some links in the library resources, Films on Demand, and Canopy Films. So I'm not going to go through this in depth, but mainly point out that some of the links that we'll be discussing are located here if you identify one that you want to grab and link into your course or some other tutorials or things that Oliver will be showing more later. I'm just basically going to now jump over to our library homepage and point out some main things, one that you might be familiar with, or just serve as a reminder or introduce some things. Up here at the top is definitely a new section. Wanted to point out our current operations webpage. We're still here available for any questions that you have, phone, chat, by appointment, email. So different things that you might be interested in if you need any research support. Here's all different ways to contact us with any questions that you might have. Or if there's a specific tutorial that covers something to supplement what might have been a library session, we have tutorials linked here, information on borrowing, placing holds. We're not doing physical items in interlibrary loan, but you can still request articles electronically, and I will be pointing out where you can access a form through our library website. But this really explains things in depth, or at least it's a good landing page to get you started with contacting the right person, depending on what your what kind of question or what you might need. Over here are library hours. So the building would be closed after 5, and then virtual services are still available. Well, it's all virtual, but you know, by appointment, not after 5. And then with the chat or email services, someone's monitoring that later in the evenings. For any research support, we kind of guide you to our research drop-down menu. Depending what department you're in, we have these great subject research guides that I wanted to point out. All of these are open web pages that the library puts together these different resources. So depending what your specialty is, I know Oliver has some great things linked here on his business guide, things for classes. So I won't go through all this in depth, but if you're looking for a specific set of resources that have kind of already been narrowed down or defined for you, you could link to this business guide or whatever guide your subject area is. So I'm just going back to that page that was under the research dropdown. We also have citation guides, very similar. So if you're at the end of, you know, any assignments and you're getting questions regarding citation help, know that there's some guides available here. Students can contact us with any questions that they have as well. Just going to go back to the home page. Other things, some of those tutorials that I mentioned briefly within the Plato page are also available here under the instruction drop-down. So any of these, can look through them. If, you know, if we identify or recommend one, we might, this is where you would find that information out. I did mention interlibrary loan, so that's under our services drop-down. If you have an electronic article that you're requesting, you could fill out the form for articles here. And then also just get help contacting us. All of that contact information is in the Plato page, but it's here as well. We're here and available to help with any questions that you have. So that was just a quick overview of some things. Oliver will be discussing kind of our databases. We have them linked here. We'll also end by kind of discussing some of these expanded resources. But at this point in time, I'll hand it over to Oliver. I'm gonna stop my share and.
Okay. Thank you, Sarah. And so, yeah, I'm going to share my screen, and I'm in particular going to be talking about linking to subscription collections and anything that the library has through a subscription. There's certain things that you need to be aware of when you're linking to these collections, and that's something that actually gets kind of trips up a lot of faculty when they're linking to these. So far, all the pages that Sarah's shown you are freely available on the internet. When you are, there's a difference when you're linking to subscription collections, and going to kind of just show you just one thing in relation to the URL for any of these subscription collections. So what you're seeing here is a section of the URL that you will always see on the library pages for any link to a subscription collection or to a publication that's in our subscription collections. And basically what this URL is doing, this section of the URL, I should say, that is allowing your students to connect with the library server. We have a server which authenticates the students and allows them access to our collections, access to our databases or to publications that we pay for. And so you want to make sure when you're linking to these subscription materials that this section of the URL is going to be there right at the front. And then when a student clicks on a link which has this section, then they'll be taken to this page, which they'll have to log in with the same login that they use for My Westfield or for their Westfield email. They'll have to log in, and then that'll get them access to the database or to the publication or to the film or what have you. And so it's very important that you have that. And if you don't have that section of the URL in your pages, students might get lost, or they'll just get sent to a login screen perhaps for the database itself, which is not going to be helpful. So I'll show you some examples. So right here, this is our databases page from the library. It's just a screenshot, but if I hover over the database Academic Search Premier, and this is one of our databases, you can see below here, this is the URL for that database. And right here, we're seeing, sorry, sensitive mouse there. We're seeing the section of the URL that's going to connect students with that server. It's kind of underlined in red there. And so this is a case where you could just copy and paste the URL that you're seeing down there for Academic Search Premier and put it in your course page. Now it gets a little trickier once you're in a database and you're looking at an article or you're looking at a book or a video and you want to link to that particular publication. It's going to be different depending on which database that you're in, but here's an example. So let's say I want my students to see this article on siblings and foster care. In this database, what I would do is I would want to actually click the little button here on the right that says permalink. And what I'm basically doing when I'm doing that is I'm looking for a permanent stable link to this article. And that's what you have to do once you're in a database. And when I do that, what'll happen is in this database, it pops up a little window and you'll see it gives you the permalink. And you can copy and paste that into your course page. And right here, you're seeing once again the scroll.lib.westfield, that section of the URL, which is going to connect students with the server. And so that's how it works in this database. And one of the problems is it's going to be different depending on which database that you're in. But basically, the practice that you're going to be doing is you're going to look for a stable link to provide your students. One thing that you don't want to do is just, and it's tempting, is just copy the URL that's in the address bar that we're seeing up here. And that's generated from the search. And so that's not going to be a stable URL. It's going to be permanent, and it won't work when you're just copying and pasting from the address bar into your course page. Again, you want to look in the database for the permanent URL. As I said before, it's different in every database. This is an article I found in another database, in a ProQuest database. And in this database, you need to go to the abstract and details tab for any article. And when you click that, you'll actually see down below here something called a document URL. And that's the stable URL, that's the permanent URL. And that, and right here is what we would want to actually copy and paste into our course page. It works differently in another database that we have. We have this Films on Demand database, and it's really a great database to find videos that you can share with your students. In this collection, what you would do is you'd click the share button down here. And once you do that, it's going to pop up this little pop-up window that has a record URL. And once again, there's a completely different name for these stable URLs. In this case, it's the record URL, and it's showing us what we want to copy and paste into our course page. So it gets a little tricky because you're in different databases. They're using different terms for these things. But that's maybe what I'll emphasize is that you're going to search for that permanent URL. Just to kind of summarize what I've been kind of saying here, you want to make sure when you're looking at the subscription collections that the link does include the scroll.lib. That's the first bullet. The second bullet, when you're at a database record, when you've found a publication in the database, look for the permanent URL. And it can be called any of these different names that you're seeing listed here. But the third bullet, actually, this is probably the biggest takeaway, is we can help you with this. And so if you're not sure what link to use once you're in a collection or you can't find the permanent link, please feel free to contact the reference librarians. We have the email service, askus@westfield.ma.edu. We've got a chat service, and you're seeing the link to that, and Sarah showed you where our chat services are located on the library page, or you can just call and leave a message. The phone number here in the third bullet, that's our reference phone number, and we're monitoring that remotely, and so we can help you. You can leave a message and we'll get back to you. And again, we can help you find these permanent or stable URLs. Does anyone have any questions about this? I think we actually have, we might have a participant, but if not, what we can do at this point, I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I might pass things on to Corrine now, and we'll talk about a number of things also related to library materials. Okay, Corrine, go ahead.
Okay, thanks, Oliver. One of the things that I just might recommend also is that if you're trying one of the links that Oliver was just showing, go ahead and put it in whatever you're using and then try it out. Because sometimes even what you're sure is going to work might not work. And then again, we're always there to help you. But it's not always that clear depending on the database you're using. Yeah, so we've all been through this a million times, so don't feel bad if the first time it doesn't work right. So I've just gotten, I keep changing up things because of all these wonderful new databases and resources that we have now for a short period of time because of the COVID-19 reactions, and I'm very impressed. I want to thank all the vendors that are out there who are making these sources available to us. And what I've done is I have basically 3 large departments that I work with. And if you're looking at this after this session, I'm going to focus mostly on education, nursing, and then movement science, so the medical sciences. And I'm just going to show you a little bit of what I have done selectively to put some of the new resources into the subject guides that we use. So I am now going to share my screen. At least that's the idea. Hang on. Okay. So I'm back to our library homepage. And I'm going to just show you one of my disciplines to illustrate the kinds of craziness that I went through and have done for now. And I'm going to my movement science subject guide. And here, if you go to books and videos, most of the resources that we've been offered are of that nature. And I put a special box in here that says short-term access offers. But these could be very useful to any of the folks who are studying for sports medicine, athletic training, and others. Human Kinetics is a big publisher in those disciplines, and so the human anatomy is very helpful there too. So let's see if this actually works. Yeah. Some of the interesting things that I found in these databases is that the search boxes are not always very effective. I was searching in in one of these for the shoulder, and it's like, nope, sorry, we don't have shoulders in the human body. And I went through the browsing by content, and lo and behold, there's a whole chapter on shoulders. So don't get too frustrated by that. Just kind of keep trying to play around with it. Sometimes that's all we have to do also, because rationality doesn't always work with these. So play around with it. You can go to advanced search. That's also helpful in any of the databases. And sometimes just browsing down, you can see what's here. Videos, very helpful for athletic training. Lots of things here that can help with that kind of research that's being done. Many of the resources that we're getting in with these trial situations are actually resources that are videos, which can be very helpful for all the clinical stuff that we can't do right now and are so frustrated not to have availability. That's true with nursing, education, and obviously in the movement science areas. There are also some things, I believe, Oliver, maybe you know this better than I do, but about this with the sciences and the importance of labs, online labs, that you can actually see people doing things that we would normally be doing in our labs. So lots more here than we've had before. And unfortunately, we all have to keep in our heads that a lot of these resources are temporary. If we were to subscribe to everything that we now have available, we would be so far off the map with our budget that you probably don't even want to imagine. And it's going to be frustrating in some level when we get back into place and we find ourselves, oops, all the vendors said, well, that was nice for them. But keep it in mind, and if you really like something, all we can do is keep trying and trying to see where the budgets end us up. But just be cautious of that. Don't get too used to these wonderful resources. I've done this for all the subject pages. I don't want to bore you with going through all of them, but if you are in any of these disciplines, just check it out. Check out your subject page. What I would recommend is, if you haven't already done so, make direct links to our subject pages, library subject pages, into your Plato courses. And that way, your students hopefully will become more familiar with just going there and looking for things that are put in. That would be my recommendation here. Questions, comments?
Okay.
I'm going to give back my screen.
Okay.
Question just about, I know things are very, very iffy these days, but so do you think we'll have these resources over summer as well? How temporary, meaning what's the timeline on these resources?
I'm going to steal the screen here for a second, and I can show
Yeah, good.
on the library homepage, this is the library homepage, we have this, all of the newer collections that we temporarily have access to. They are linked from the homepage, and it's this little icon that you're seeing here, COVID-19 Publishers Expanded Access. When you click that, it'll take you to the guide that has all of these pages. All of these collections listed. And what you'll see for each collection, it'll tell you the date that it expires. Now, some of them actually, when we were working with the publishers were telling us that they would be available for the duration of the COVID crisis, the COVID-19 crisis. And so I think there is some hope, at least that I have, that these collections, at least some of the publishers, will be making them available past the summer and maybe even into the fall. I know one of these collections is available through December. So yeah, but at this point you can check to see when these offers expire, and all that information will be right here on these pages that describe each collection. Hein Online is the one that's available through the fall semester. That's a database that has government and government information as well as case law and statutory law.
I think if these dates change, we will also be updating that. Our new systems librarian has been doing an amazing behind the scenes job with all of these issues, and he will be on top of that and posting as is appropriate. So we'll try to keep all of you in the loop here on what we know.
I might just mention, you know, while I'm at this page, I did kind of break this down into book collections and textbooks. So under book collections, you'll have monograph driven collections where that your students can search and find books related to their topics and find books for their own research. In terms of textbooks, I've got this separate tab here, and we have the Cambridge Core textbooks. We also have this Vital Source collection. I actually went through this Vital Source collection and I tested and searched to find the textbook in applied psychology. I searched for athletic training. I searched for textbooks on topics related to management, leadership, logistics, and I was finding one on just about every subject area that I could think of. This is not going to be useful for you for this semester because it's too late and this expires at the end of the spring semester, but I'm hoping that they'll extend access. This Vital Source collection will be extended through the fall. Maybe we might reach out to the publishers and try to get an early word from them, but we'll keep this page updated with that information. Sarah, did you want to talk any about some of these collections?
There's definitely a lot that were made available through Bloomsbury digital resources on all different subject areas. And you know, if anyone in the audience wants to pick one, I can kind of just review. There's visual arts and design, history and social sciences.
I stopped sharing, so Sarah,
oh, you did? Okay.
Go ahead. You can share if you want.
Let me jump back over and share my screen here. Yeah, just a reminder where that is down here under the COVID Publisher Expanded Access. You'll see a lot of these Bloomsbury ones.
I actually have a student right now who is working on a Krika project, and she is talking about online fashion resources. And it's perfect timing for her, except that it's going to be a little frustrating once these go away. But I didn't even look at these yet, so I don't know, Sarah, if you have.
Yeah, I was just looking through them. Some of them are really interesting, you know, even if you just have a area that you want to research further, even if your assignment's, you know, done for and submitted for this semester, you know, you're not doing anything. They're fun to explore, I think, too, even just this Bloomsbury Fashion Central. There's one that was like I think it's called the Churchill one. It was like a private collection with a lot of rare books and materials that are just really interesting just to browse through and see what's there. So I would really encourage anyone kind of watching this or that is interested in any of these collections to just take a look. This is just one. There was a couple different fashion ones. Mm-hmm. Music, where is it? Yeah, so, the design library. I thought this was really cool, even just for hobbies, you know, at home. It was fun to look through. But yeah, so it really, you know, depends where people are with their assignments, what kind of research they're still doing. We're happy to recommend certain ones too. If people reach out to us with any, you know, questions, we can do our best to kind of help guide through locating different resources in here. So,
and that would be the same Ask Us email address, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, I would say if people are going to have to start preparing for fall courses online, and they're looking for collections to share with their students for videos, for films, for books. Yeah, you could ask us at westfield.ma.edu, and we'll do our best to see what's available in our collections, or what collections are made available that have, material that you could use, and we can give you a hand with that.
I mean, I just had an observation that even if we decide to come back and have on face-to-face classes, some of us still teach a lot of online classes. So with this resource might be very useful for those who, even with not in the time of crisis, used to take online classes. So that could be a useful resource for them as well. Corinne, you had your hand up, I think.
Yeah, there's another piece that I forgot to mention for students right now who are facing the certification exams in, for instance, nursing and education. There is a really nice resource, and let me just share my screen for a minute here. See if I can get back into the world here. If you go back to all these new systems, oops, if I can navigate down here, there is, I'm getting there. Testing and Education Reference Center. And this has practice exams in all areas. And it's quite amazing, but it took me quite a while to find what I was looking for. And basically they're all under career for us, what would be most useful to us, I believe. So here you'll find medical nursing practice tests. You will also find a teacher practice tests. They're not under education. And under teacher, you will get not MTEL, but you will get the Praxis series. And it's pretty good in terms of overlap, in terms of what you'll find in the MTEL versus what's here. And it will tell you, give you all kinds of links to what to do and how to practice for these. So that's another option for right now, that if people are cramming and they're really worried about those tests, this is just another resource that you can use for those. So that's about that.
Can I ask, nothing to connect it with this, but some of my students have come with the question about they left their books, library books, in their dorms when they vacated, and their families are not comfortable sending them back. So are there policies of, like, what answer should I give to my student?
Well,
to ask the person not to worry, or?
Yeah, right now what we've done is that we've assumed that this semester is people are not going to be able to get books back to us. So we've automatically renewed all the books until, what's the date? May 30th, I think. I'm not sure, but it's the end of the semester. And what I'm guessing is that there will be an automatic renewal, another automatic renewal. The problem comes when, Amber, yes.
Yes, I'm here. So right now our books are automatically renewed to the end of the semester, which is a generic May 11th date.
Oh, okay.
We will be pushing beyond that. There are no overdues for this semester at all. So there's really no worries about items that haven't gotten back to us or won't get back to us in the immediate future. We're going to figure it out, but these students for sure shouldn't worry about it. There's not going to be any fines or anything. And we're working it out as it is, but for right now, everything is set through the end of the semester, and I expect we'll be pushed well beyond that as well.
And then the seniors who are graduating will deal with that.
Yep, also no issue there. It won't impact their ability to graduate. There is some discussion about how we'll get items returned to campus when it's safe to do so. We have a book drop that's available on campus if students wish to put items in there, but we're not obviously encouraging anybody to make the trip to campus because it is not safe to do so under these conditions, but it will be there, and we're kind of monitoring the situation as it goes on, but really it won't have any impact on their ability to graduate. We won't be holding diplomas as we would have in previous semesters, so we'll figure it out, and they can always reach out to us and we can make arrangements to.
Okay,
Thanks.
thanks, Amber. Corinne, actually, if you can go down to the COVID-19 page one more time. You were mentioning before videos, and so when you scroll down in the bottom right, the Sage video collections, those
Yes,
as
that's
going
perfect.
through till for the duration of the COVID-19 crisis. So yeah, Sage video, and I've
That's
been finding lots of different areas are served in terms of videos and documentaries that they have, as well as dramatic works. And so, yeah, if you're looking to, again, it's I hesitate to say this because you're preparing for the fall, and we'd have to get a direct answer on exactly how long they're going to make this available.
right.
But for the duration of the COVID-19 crisis, I don't know. Hopefully that'll.
Whatever that duration is.
Yeah, I mean, if all universities worldwide are going to be going online in the fall, maybe they'll make this collection available, through that date. Anyway.
No, I'm glad you brought that back up. So I didn't even mention nursing before, but that's a huge area where you really need clinical work. And if my connection allows me to, there it is. Then you can get some more specifics under the categories, or you can search. Sometimes I find just browsing through the actual links here is better than trying to search. It gets pretty detailed in the breakdowns. We don't want to use up all the bandwidth, but that's nice options here.
Okay. Any questions that anyone else has about anything that we've discussed?
Just another quick comment is that we mentioned Ask Us a lot, and the reference options that are available to you. You can also email us individually.
Yeah.
And I'm not always good at getting back right away, but I do read my email, and we're all on our computers during regular business hours, pretty much. And please reach out to us whichever way you're most comfortable with. And if we don't know an answer, we will certainly find it out. And there's a big, as you can see, with Amber jumping in, and we're all a team here to make this work best for you. So let us know how we can help you.
Thank you once again. I mean, thank you for all the participants, especially Sarah, Corinne, and Oliver, because I think now that we are not out so much, we probably, once the semester is over, we'll have some time. So actually, these resources are very tempting, even in that sense. And then, of course, our students who are completing their research work and term projects in the next few weeks will also benefit a lot. And we also have some temporary, some permanent access to things that we can use online. So this was a really informative session for us. And I'm hoping that, Oliver, you mentioned that you'd share the PowerPoint, and I will put that along with my notes onto the Faculty Center resource as well, in addition to, of course, you being there via email and the phone number. So we are almost at the end. If there are no questions, looks like, yeah, I think that's
Okay.
a lot of information for us to digest, and we'll probably get back to you with more questions as we go by.
Okay, sounds great.
Great.
I'm going to stop recording right
Yep.
Yeah.
now.